don't know if I don't want to say you understand, that's the wrong way to say that. The church has different readings for different times of the year. Daily Mass, we have two different cycles that we do, cycle 1 and 2. Currently, we're in cycle 2. During Sundays, we have cycle A, B, and C. Currently, we're in cycle B. You can use cycle A, like when you have RCIA people and everything. That's the one that Deacon read. It's not what my homily is prepared for. So let me tell you a quick synopsis of cycle B. Just very quick. It's the gospel reading where Jesus goes into the temple. He sees the money changers and the people with animals, and he kicks them all out of the temple. That's basically all you need to know to follow through with what I'm going to say, hopefully. I think every family has rules in it in order for the family to work well together. My family did. My family had these rules that were posted on the refrigerator, very simple rules, taken from Anne Landers or Dear Abby, one of those columnists. It was very simple. It said, if you open it, shut it. If you make a mess, clean it up. If you see something that needs to be done, do it. If there's any staff members here or any friars here, I'd like to add 2 more to that. If you put your Keurig pot in the little thing, take it out. If you're done with the microwave, hit the clear button. I don't want to see that you had 30 seconds left. Those are little things that irritate me. And I never realized that the rules that my parents gave me really weren't just arbitrary rules. They were there for a reason. Now, I didn't always follow them, but I followed them as best I could because I knew that there was going to be consequences, and I knew I would have a sore bottom if I just disobeyed everything that they told me. But I didn't really find out that these rules that they gave me weren't something that they just pulled out of thin air, that there was a reason for it. I didn't find that out actually till late in life, till I entered seminary. When we first enter seminary, we're given a list of house chores to do. They would change monthly. Oh, maybe you were in charge of cleaning the chapel or doing the altar linens. Maybe you were in charge of doing dishes this week. I remember there was a week that I was in charge of cleaning our rec room up. So every day, every morning, I had to go and just straighten up the rec room that all the guys lived in, you know? I would find glasses next to their chair. I would find plates, empty plates on the end tables. And I would start getting angry saying, couldn't they have walked this to the kitchen? And all of a sudden, my mother's voice came out. Who do they think they are? Do they think I'm their maid? And I realized that the rules that my mom and dad gave me were really to help make life in our household a little bit more manageable, a little bit more tolerable. I helped so people didn't have to do the other work, in that sense of that. I began to understand that those rules were there for a purpose. Today's first reading, we were given a bunch of rules, the 10 Commandments. And like my parents' rules, they were there for a purpose. They were there not only to help the people, but to help the community. But sometimes, like me and my parents' rules, people didn't obey them. They twisted the rules to fit their own agendas. For example, me. There were times that my mother would say to me, Michael, you can't have ice cream. It's ready. You're getting ready for bed. So I would go to the pantry, open up the bag of chips. Michael, didn't you hear me? Well, yeah, you said no ice cream. I'm not having ice cream. I'm having chips. I knew what she meant, but I still did it anyway. Sometimes, though, we don't have that deep reflection. Sometimes we just get caught up in instances where we don't keep the rules that were given to us. Like Fridays during Lent, we're supposed to abstain from meat. So my family would go to the Polish club on Fridays in Lent, and they had a fish and pierogi dinner. We kept the rule, no meat. It was an all-you-can-eat fish and pierogi dinner. There has nothing to do with sacrifice with all-you-can-eat. But we didn't reflect enough. We need to do more reflection in our life. That's what the gospel reading would have been about. These people who were in the temple with the money changers and the animals, that all started out as a very good thing, an act of service for one another. It was to make sure that the people who were traveling long distances to come to the temple to worship God, that they would have the correct currency in order to buy food for their family. So the money changers were in the temple to help them. The animals were there so that the people wouldn't have to haul their animals all the way from the outskirts of the towns or the cities or the countries they were coming from, that they could buy these animals to sacrifice to God. But eventually, this thing that turned out to be something good turned out to be a profitable business. And that's what Jesus is getting upset about. That the rules were given to them, but they lost the reflection. That's why it's so important for us to do daily examination of conscience, to make sure that we are living what God asks us to do, not to get caught up in how to serve our needs, but how we need to serve God. A daily act of examination of conscience helps us to get out of a sin pattern that we might be in. It asks us to examine the temptations that lead us to something. Like Lent, confession is about change. It's about changing our ways and putting God and others first. And while it's easy sometimes to recognize what we've done, lying, gossiping, stealing, sometimes the harder ones to get a grasp of are the sins of omission. I confess the sins that I have committed and the sins I have failed to do. Are those just words to us? Or do we reflect on those things that we failed to do? One of the things that we've been asking people to look at this Lenten time is to look at the service of ministry to others here in the church. Have we failed to put ourselves at the service of others? We need to take a look at that in our lives. We need to make sure that our lives aren't just going through the same old, but that we're actually changing and doing better. Let's use this Lent as an opportunity to take a good look at ourselves, to make sure we're listening to God's voice and not simply living life on